Oh, hey, I'm assuming you're here to learn how to do the voice of Rick, or become a Rick. Although you won't become the Rick, you just become an impersonation of a Rick. Now, for whatever reason you want to become a Rick, I don't care. Maybe it's because you want to impress your friends, have a laugh. Ha 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 ha, that's cool. I mean, to be a Rick, you really gotta sell it. You really gotta become a Rick. And the best way to become a Rick is to get really fucking drunk. I'm kidding, don't do that. I mean, the main point of this video is to learn how to do the voice. What you do in your spare time is up to you. What's going on, guys? Dubsy here, and today, as you probably know, I'll be showing you how to do the Rick Sanchez voice impression. Now, I know that my Rick voice probably isn't the best there is, but it's a work in progress, so please bear with me. But after my Morty voice tutorial, I've had a lot of people ask me how to do the Rick Sanchez one, and I figured why not. If you guys haven't seen the Morty tutorial, I'll chuck a link up here, and it might be worth checking that out, as the two voices sort of complement each other. Seeing as though Justin Roiland voices both Rick and Morty, the general consensus is, if you can do Morty, you should be able to do a Rick. So feel free to check that one out, and we'll jump straight in. Now the first thing you want to do, just like all my other tutorials, is do a little character study, and then pick a phrase. So the best way to do this, jump on YouTube, search up Rick Sanchez voice lines, or Rick quotes, or Rick and Morty quotes, it doesn't matter. There are so many good lines out there, and it's just a good character just to get a feel for in general. So for the purpose of this video, I'll be using Hey Rick It's Rick, as it's a hook word for me. You can use whatever line you want and follow along. Another good line would probably be Hey Morty, seeing as though Rick says this a lot and a lot of people are able to pick this up really quickly. So with that phrase, we can move on to step 2, which is nasal tone. So just like the Morty voice, the Rick voice comes from that nasal area, but what's different is it sort of starts from the throat and like works its way out from the nose, which I'll get into later. But right now, just really focus on that nasal tone, really exaggerate it using that phrase. So you should be able to sound a little like this. So using our phrase, Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. So once you have something that sounds like that, we can start moving on to the next step. And this is going to be relaxing the voice. Now whenever Rick talks, he generally just doesn't care. And you can really hear that in his voice whenever he's talking normally. And a good way to replicate this is just relaxing your voice, like whenever you're talking, you seriously cannot be bothered talking, if that makes sense. So using our phrase, Hey Rick It's Rick, add the nasal tone, then relax the voice. So, Hey Rick It's Rick, Hey Rick It's Rick. Really extend your vowels and just get a feel for that sound. It's pretty much his singing voice, which is weird to think about, but it's actually how I developed it. So if you want, sing that Swifty song. So, oh yeah, gotta get Swifty. Gotta get Swifty in here. So yeah, give that a go if you want, and we can move on to step number 4. And that's going to be add a little gravel and lowering the voice in general. So adding gravel can be a little difficult for a few people. The best way to think about it is the same sound you make when you're clearing your throat, but instead of just clearing it, you're going to hold that sound while doing the phrase at the same time. So it's a little confusing, but it'll make sense when you do it. So using the phrase, Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. Add the gravel. Hey Rick It's Rick. Lower it down a bit, and don't forget to relax the sound. So Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. Now you can sort of hear what I mean by how the voice starts from the throat and then builds up through that nasal area. So Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. Just sort of play around with that sort of mentality, and you should be able to pick it up in no time. So the next step to finish off the Rick impression would be to add stutters and burps. So depending on how drunk Rick is, you'll notice that he tends to burp and stutter mid-sentence. So just practice adding these randomly to more words, and to make things easier, just have like a fizzy drink ready if you can't burp on cue. So adding everything together, Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. Hey Rick It's Rick. So this is pretty much how you do the Rick impression when he's speaking normally. When he starts ranting though, everything sort of like tenses up and he starts adding more stutters. So when you're comfortable just doing the one phrase, start practicing other random words, and then try adding the stutters and burps as you go on. So you'll develop all this over time, just like every voice impression. It's going to take time. So just to summarize the Rick voice, step 1, find the phrase. Step 2 is the nasal tone. Step 3, relax that voice. Step 4, add the gravel. And step 5, burp and stutter. So there we have it. That's how I do the voice of Rick. Hopefully with these tips you guys will be able to pick it up. It's a really fun voice to do, and it's even better when you can do Rick and Morty at the same time. So play around with it, make it your own, Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm gonna make like a Canadian. Peace out.